Hello everyone, this is Niharika from YLCC. YLCC, that is your legal career coach, is a mentorship platform for law students. On our YouTube channel, we share interview discussions with students and industry professionals. Welcome to today's special interview session where we have Naman Anand. To quickly introduce him, Naman recently graduated with an LLM in International Legal Studies from the New York University School of Law and was awarded the LLM Public Interest Fellowship with a fully funded placement with legal team at the International Solar Alliance, which is the only treaty-based international organization headquartered in India. This is followed by visitorship at the Lauterpacht Center of International Law at the University of Cambridge. In this session, he will be talking about his journey of LLM from abroad, along with the many interesting ventures that he has undertaken so far. Hi, Naman. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on board for this session. I request you to please introduce yourself, after which we can begin with the session. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Niharika. It's a pleasure to be here. And you've already said many very interesting things about me. And honestly, I'm very, very humbled to be here. Shout out to Samanika who made this possible. Very, very, happy about the fact that I'm being able to share my views on this platform, because as a law student I used to look at her posts on LinkedIn and look at how life now comes a full circle. So coming to my introduction, I guess you put it very succinctly. But yes, I did my BA LLB honors from the Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, and I've always been that purebred Chandigarh boy. So I've been born, I was born in Delhi, but I've been brought up in Chandigarh. And that's where I've lived my life. And that's from where it all started.
Right. After your graduation from Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, you immediately opted for an LLM. So if you could share with us what was the rationale behind taking that decision instead of working for a while, let's say before studying for masters?
I think the rationale is very clear. If you know that you have to attain, dual qualifications, you want to expand to further jurisdictions, and most importantly, if you feel that there is a knowledge gap. I mean, I'm an inherently curious person, so I always end up feeling that, hey, I should know more about this thing, right? And that's how I sort of ended up with the decision of applying for an LLM. It was, before anything else, it was just curiosity and the desire to learn and grow. Moreover, I'll be very honest, I did apply for quite a few jobs. I landed three pre-placement offers, just in case. But I was always very confident that this is what I wanted to do. If not now, then later on. But God is great, and I was very, very fortunate to have, landed my dream law school in my first application.
So what were the key factors that led you to choose NYU School of Law for your LLM?
NYU, in terms of its location, in terms of its faculty, and in terms of its focus on Socratic teaching, blended with clinical and practical experience, is what led me to choose the institution. It's, a very, very big city. Of course, all of those images of New York in all of those Bollywood, Hollywood movies of it being such a grand, such a mesmerizing city, but yet one that, where you can get lost in the madding crowds, uh, is very, very accurate. But at the same time, NYU is nothing like it. It's a very small, close-knit community, one where people really engage in some wonderful intellectual discourse. And there's a lot of focus on who you are. People genuinely want to know you. They want you to hone your skills, and they want to assist you. Unlike in India, where there's, particular mentality that, okay, there's, like a huge lecture going on. Students don't get that much of an individual attention. But most of all, the reason as to why I opted for this in terms of my subject selection was because NYU, if you look at the US news rankings or you look at any other major rankings, is creme de la creme for international legal studies. and that was my dream program. And despite graduating from that program, if I had the opportunity to do it all over again, I would do so.
So, can you please share the application process at NYU School of Law for international students and how one should prepare for the same?
Sure. I think NYU, in terms of its selection, what people do not know is that it is highly, highly selective. I was very, very fortunate to speak to different professors, and I was very, very fortunate to also speak with the Mr. Timothy J. Stan at the admissions committee at NYU. And the shocking fact is that NYU's acceptance rate on an overall basis tends to be somewhere between 13 to 14.5%. And that is far lower than Oxford or Cambridge, which has about a 16 to 19% acceptance rate. Yale and Harvard too uh, have been around 15 to 16% from the discussions that I had at the law school, in general. And the reason behind such selectivity at NYU is that they do not necessarily look for who has great LORs or who has the highest GPA. If you want high GPAs, if you want people who are academically meritorious, you've got Oxbridge for that, without any, ill will against those institutions. They're brilliant institutions. But what the US looks for is very different. They look for all rounders, people who have had a little bit of experience with everything. Now, coming to the application process, there are numerous reasons as to why it is so multifaceted. Uh, of course, the principal application, the entire application has to be submitted through LSAC. You have to create your LSAC account, and just like numerous other universities, you have to go ahead with that process. But there are different questions to which they try to gauge all of your interests. The SOP compared to what you would see with other law schools, at this level. For example, LSE is known to be fairly lengthy. I also got into LSE. NYU, on the other hand, in terms of its statement of purpose, it's a little bit more crisp. And you need to ensure that you are very well researched with the classes that take place, with the structure of those classes. And by the way, all of this is public. You can go ahead, you can have a look at these things. It makes a huge difference in terms of your application. The degree, just like most US law schools, is 24 credits. Make sure that you assess each and everything that you're doing. Look at the entire menu beforehand, just like you would do. So at a restaurant, curate it for yourself and then, move forward. And what I could see, even in terms of Indian law schools, there was a wonderful, wonderful diversity, which I've seen is missing from most UK law schools, or even quite a few US law schools don't have the amount of institutional diversity that NYU did. I was very fortunate to get in with two other folks from RGNUL, which never happened. In my year, there were three folks from RGNUL. But apart from that, there were plenty of people from Jindal, Sastra University, and Maharaja Agrasen Institute. One of my very good friends, she was from there. So you can look at the diversity of institutes and the fact that, certain colleges might have a particular disposition. While that is right or wrong is beyond the scope of this interview. Or it might be inherent, it might be something that they actually look forward to because of certain MOUs, because of certain arrangements, because of certain features. At NYU, it actually does not matter. All they look for is passion. All they look for is clarity. They do not care whether you have the resources to achieve your goal or not. They want to understand what your goal is, why you want to get there, and exactly why does NYU, provide those resources to you. I would like to conclude this part by very, clearly stating that there was this lovely LinkedIn post by Rai Sengupta. I would, very strongly recommend people to go through it. And that is again, an approach that works at NYU is the STARL approach, where you're given a particular situation or you're given a question. You look at that situation, you understand it, then you go to the T, that's the task. What exactly did you do? Right. Then you look at your uh, you know assessment. Basically, you further assess what you did, you try to compare it with different approaches, and you make people understand why did you opt for that particular way of reacting to or resolving that issue. Then you tie ST and A together, you put an R star, or you look at the result of what that particular thing did, right? What was the end result of your actions and your entire reaction to that situation? And then you follow it up with L. Most people stop at star. That L part of what you have learned in the application is most important, so that you put it through in a harmonized, and then you tie it up with the courses. And trust me, if you have a good GPA, you have a good background, you've done a little bit of everything. You don't need to be the best at everything, but you possibly need to be the most passionate at everything. If that sounds like you, NYU is the place for you.
Right. Could you tell us of any challenge that you faced maybe during the application process, since we are talking about it, and also how you handled it?
I think the only problem I faced during the application phase was, see, I'm someone who's inherently, very defensive by nature in certain things, especially when it comes to my career or my professional decisions. I think that fear of mine comes from being a seventh generation practitioner. I'll be very out there about it. Many people would say that, okay, being a first generation lawyer has its challenges. I absolutely agree and I empathize. But at the same time, folks who have, you know, been in a surrounding where they've seen their parents, their grandparents, even their great grandparents talking about their practice, talking about their professional goals and ambitions, there is a certain amount of pressure socially also that comes with it. I think that is the reason why I ended up applying for approximately 14 or 15 LLMs, because I wanted to keep my horizon very broad. I knew for a fact that I did not want to join the Indian law firm scene. On an immediate basis, it was not for me. And my situation was very unique. It is unlike the situation of most other people. I am very grateful that my family has its own practice, which I can always fall back on. Not many people have that. But that is also the reason why I wanted to equip myself abroad, build those connections, build a new worldview, a new horizon, which my parents, for whatever reasons, whether it be their own struggles, whether it be lack of information during the 90s or during the previous periods, they were unable to do. In many ways, I was trying to live their dream, trying to do many things that they wanted me to do. And I'm very, very grateful to them that they pushed me forward and I was able to do so. But yet another factor which people do not realize is that many people, of course, they're working full-time jobs, 14, 15, 16 hours. They still have a lot of clarity about what they're going to do. When you move into an LLM at the same time after your fifth year, I've seen so many people in fifth, like complete their BA LLB degrees. I know 15, 20 people from my batch, they're still figuring out what to do after their, uh, you know, undergraduate degrees. And that's absolutely normal. I have known many people who landed PPOs, who landed jobs, folks who shifted from litigation to corporate law and vice versa. Some people thought that an in-house job is not for me at all, yeah. And 4 to 6 months later, they changed. For me, an LLM gave me the opportunity to also explore and understand the precise areas of international law that I was interested in. I knew international law is the field for me because I was very fortunate that RG Renewal is possibly the only national law university that I'm aware of that offers not a 1 year, but a 2 year undergraduate specialization in international law, which really, really worked in my favor. So I guess all of these things worked, but they also created challenges in terms of managing my academic workload and in terms of charting out my path. Because when you've got 2 or 3 wonderful PPOs lined up in front of you, no matter where you are from, what your background is, you would give it a lot of thought before keeping that offer to the side, because that offer does give you a sense of stability. But does it give you a sense of challenge? Is it something that you want to look forward to? Is it something that will make you wake up every single day in the morning? Unfortunately, that was not the case for me. But getting to that realization, understanding that thing, that entire mental process, that entire mental battle that I was having with myself, you know, that is the most difficult part.
So, what kinds of specializations did NYU offer, and why did you opt for an LLM in international legal studies as opposed to a general LLM?
This is a very good question. Again, international legal studies, because I was clear, general LLM is a great option for those who want to explore even further. And many colleges offer you the option. Uh, in NYU, this is on a case to case basis, as is determined by the dean and the rest of the authorities. That if you do 14 credits out of a minimum of 24 and a maximum of 30, you can specialize, and sometimes it is retrospectively granted. So this is very, very important. And general LLM is also very good for those who have very diverse yet intersecting interests. Now, let's say someone is into climate finance and the law. They might not be particularly interested in the energy and environmental law LLM, because that will tie them to one side of the continuum. They might not be interested in the business law LLM because it might tie them to the other. If they keep their options open and opt for a general LLM, they might be able to go for the bar subjects, because if you want to qualify for the New York bar, you also need to study about 11 or 12 credits worth of general subjects, such as introduction to civil law or possibly corporate law, real estate transactions, essentially 2 subjects that are, you also prepare for the bar, that the bar exam includes, that you know, go for in terms of your classes, because it gives you that additional benefit, and it is also a New York state court requirement, as is also the case in different other states. You also opt for the course on professional responsibility, as is the case with the BCI affiliated law schools. You have to do it again over there. And you also look at certain introductory courses, such as introduction to US law, introduction to the US Constitution, different things. So you have to make a very careful call, particularly if you are interested in being eligible for the bar, no matter when you give it, when you appear for it, that I need to balance my bar credits very carefully with my specialization. I also need to ensure that I do the classes that I'm really interested in, and I blend it correctly, not just in terms of the subjects, but also in terms of the time. So that is very, very important. Sometimes a general LLM ends up giving people more flexibility, because they might be interested in 2 or 3 subjects which are very, very close to each other in nature. Essentially, you look at different types of corporate law courses. You can look at asset finance, or you can look at business transactions. Very, very similar, taught in different ways at different law schools. Certain things are a facet of one thing, right? Of a bigger topic. Certain subjects are broad, certain subjects are more specific. So that's why you really need to give all of these things a lot of time.
Okay. What clinical experiences or practical legal training sessions did you undertake during your LLM, and how did they contribute to your professional growth?
I was very fortunate to be a part of the International Organizations Clinic. that was led by Professor Angelina Fisher and Professor Victoria Ackerman. We focused on data management regulations in different international organizations. The OHCHR, the United Nations Office for the High Commissioner of Human Rights, was our end client, and it was very, very fascinating for us because we actually got to study different international financial institutions. We got to meet different people from the World Bank, understand their experiences, and table our report. We also went to Washington, D.C. We visited the World Bank on the sidelines of a summit where all the general councils of all major international financial institutions, such as the African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, they were all there. We got to ask questions, we got to interact. And it was a wonderful real world experience because we had actual deadlines. We felt like we were making a big change. And many of NYU's clinical reports have been relied on by these organizations, and it helped define and crystallize international law and best practice. That is why NYU offers a wonderful synergy between theory and practice.
What is the typical class size for LLM students at NYU, and how do you think it impacts the classroom experience and the student-faculty interactions?
So, in terms of the classroom size at NYU, it's fairly large. It's about 400 LLM students. But in no way does this impact the classroom experience because there are so many subjects on offer that the class sizes, they're mostly small. In my case, some of the smallest classes I was a part of were just 6 or 7 students. But there are certain large classes as well that take place. For example, major classes such as mergers and acquisitions or corporations, or the classes which are necessary for the New York bar, they have a lot of students over there. But in no way does this, change your experience. By no means is this a hindrance because everyone gets a chance to speak, everyone gets a chance to contribute. And it's also what you are looking for. Many lecturers are different, many lecture types are very different. For example, I opted for constitutional law with Professor David A.J. Richards, who was cited by the Honorable Supreme Court in the Navtej Johar judgment. One of his papers was cited. Very, very well known scholar and a gem of a human being. So, while his classes were mostly lecture style, we would make a lot of notes. Always at different junctures of the class, he would allow for open discussions. Then there were certain classes which were very, very discussion based, where it was essentially a dynamic session where you got the opportunity to interject, interfere, challenge opinions whenever others spoke, to the extent of even bickering and squabbling with them. For example, with Professor Benedict Kingsbury and Katrina Wyman, the IILJ Space Law Seminar, International Institute for Law and Justice. That's the full form. It's an institute at NYU that conducts this seminar. Very interesting seminar on space law. There was a wonderful class I had with Professor Ted Merrin. He's 94 years old. And imagine a 94-year-old lecturer coming up in the morning, first lecture in the morning, 8:15, 8:20, dynamic. And not once during the lecture will he sit down. He was so full of energy, so full of enthusiasm that you were simply surprised at his stories, how his life as a judge and one of the pioneers of the subject of international criminal law as it is known today, his different experiences, whether it be his time in the World War, his time as you know a judge who had different issues with morality, with ethics under international law, his experiences with the horrific genocide in Srebrenica, other parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, with the Rwanda. So it's a fascinating potpourri of experiences, of learning, and most importantly, of growth and also friendship, all for life. All of these are lessons that you will remember. All of these are experiences that you will never really be able to forget. There will always be a small part of your heart that you will leave in the corners of that institution, because that's really how it is. Everyone's NYU experience is unique. It is deeply personal to them, but at the same time it is these elements that I talked about that will be very common in their experience. So just like you chart your path through particular route differently as you do so in life, the same stands true for NYU. But there are certain common stages in every human being's life. That way, certain common benchmarks, certain common experiences will always be there. But the best part is that it is such a social place. I had some very good friends I actually never took a single class with. It was a very close knit batch. Everyone was hell bent on knowing each other completely before the end of the year and also interacting with others. One very good thing I would say about US law schools is that you get the opportunity to study with JD students. It's just like the 3 year LLB over here, but there is no seniority complex. There is nothing like that. They're all there, they're all in the mix. And the best part is that JD is, because for them, it is their first law degree. They are coming with their unique backgrounds, some from literature, some from mathematics, some from physics, some even from astronomy. And they all offer different approaches, which adds a very interesting blend to the class. And you form all types of connections. And most importantly, when classes are Socratic, they are highly discussion based. Other people challenge you, challenge your opinion. You understand how to speak, how to express, how to grow, and most importantly, how to respect them.
So coming to research assistantship now, what is the research assistantship system like in the NYU? And according to you, should you research for credit or for money? What is your opinion on this?
My opinion is that if you can, you know, go for credit, always go for credit. It looks great on your profile. It is always a very integral part of any person's manuscript when they're apologies, anyone's transcript when they are able to do that. I was very fortunate to assist Professor Jose Alvarez with drafting the second edition of his wonderful book, International Organizations as Lawmakers, and he was working with a senior professor at Cambridge, which also allowed me to gain more experience, more understanding of how book chapterization works, how you can interpolate different ideas, different thoughts, segue from one arc to another, and how there are different intersectional approaches of looking at one common topic. It also taught me the importance of looking at international law through the lenses of not just what the end outcome is, right? Looking at it as a collection of treaties, looking at it as a collection of resolutions, any different kinds of legal enactments. It is also about how custom is formed, how different actors play varied roles, including private corporations, and how private corporations can help make or shape international law. So it was a great experience. But coming to that, many people might feel the necessity to do so for money in order to sustain themselves. It's a very good option because you're being paid to learn. And I don't think there is anything better than being paid to learn. Most of the jobs, or rather 99% of jobs in the world would be like, hey, you know something, that's why you're here, we want you to perform. But the great part about RShips is that if you build a good rapport with your professor. You will be able to learn more, they will be able to accommodate you, and most importantly, more than a professor, they will become your friend and your guiding light, and someone whom you can actually approach any time in life should you need any sort of help, any sort of assistance. I'm very, very, very grateful to Professor Alves, because it was a very difficult period for me in terms of when I was adjusting, particularly in my first semester. I wanted to understand the new climate, the newer systems of working, and he was so kind-hearted. He was so open. He was so accommodating, and it is those little gestures that really make your experience at this university, and they make you wonder that wow, I was in a place with such wonderful people who were so understanding. And I think this ability to understand other people is what really percolates through the faculty, and the students take that, and it makes them more empathetic, and it makes them more kind. That is the most important thing that an RA-ship can do to you. It can make you a kinder person.
Like you talked about adjusting as an international student at NYU School of Law, what resources or support systems would you say you found most valuable in transitioning to studying in the United States?
Look at different blogs, look at different blogs, read as much as you can, and most importantly, reach out and network with people, especially on LinkedIn and on any other social media platform, such as even Devex. Devex is a great platform to reach out to people and know what they did, what worked for them, and what didn't. There are very few times when you will truly be the first one to do something in life. Someone would have done something similar. It's always good to reach out to them and understand how they charted it out. It's always important to be in touch with your administration, to be in touch with different offices. Badger them if you like, send them as many emails, call them. That's exactly what they're there for. I've realized many people, especially international students or students from India, are like, all right, hum baad mein pooch lenge, we'll ask them later. And we tend to kind of take a back seat. But when you realize how proactively they are looking for people who have queries, and how they're willing to take out queries from you instead of you having to ask them, that's when you realize that, you know what, I should go ahead. I should interact with these people. And that is what makes it all happen. The beauty of life lies in interacting, and it lies in knowing. You should not go for an LLM if you do not feel like you have the ability to interact for whatsoever purposes. Because that's essentially what the experience is, knowing other people and learning from them. The most important resource to you will always, wherever you are, and I think this rings true for almost everything in life, it shall be your community, whether it is your family or when you're away from your family, your very close friends. I was fortunate enough to have wonderful friends at NYU who are now friends for life. And that's how we grew. We all grew together. We started at, on day one thinking, where will we end up? And now, once this experience has ended, we are all still heading towards our dreams with so much more clarity, with so much more knowledge, and most importantly, so much more belief. Your most important resource, Niharika, is self belief. And sometimes self belief isn't just instilled by your own volition, it is also instilled through the community and through the positive interactions that you have.
Absolutely. Coming to scholarships now, scholarships and financial aid are crucial for many students pursuing LLM. So, could you discuss about any scholarships or any financial aid opportunities that you or your peers might have benefited during this program?
Certainly. So, interestingly, I landed scholarships for every major college apart from NYU. I think one major problem which you face as a candidate immediately applying after your undergraduate degree is that those who have some experience, of course, have the benefit of PQE, but along with that, no matter how brilliant you are, the problem remains that they have their degrees ready, they have already passed. So, undergraduate students, they put certain caps on them that, okay, your offer is here, but you must get 8.5 GPA or you must match these criterias and present us your degree. So it takes more time to compile their offers. Because it takes more time to compile their offers, it also takes more time to give them an offer with a scholarship, any type of offer. Every US college comes with a certain pool of money which they have to give out as scholarships to a particular batch for a particular degree in a particular year. Let's say it is 1000 rupees and there are 200 seats. So they try to ensure that about 70 to 85 candidates get this. And many people are surprised. They feel that it is not a good thing to do at such a level, but it is very important to negotiate for scholarships. One university, for example, gave me about a $30,000 scholarship offer, but I felt that it was still not the highest I could receive. I very gracefully explained my circumstances to them and they enhanced it upwards by 50%. It became $45,000. It was a great offer, but I always wanted to come to NYU. And after that, I landed the NYU offer and I came here. But the lesson from that is that it is very important to apply and apply early for these scholarships. And especially if you are applying as an undergraduate student and you want to go immediately, opt for early action and early decision. There are different phases that colleges have. Of course, there's early, there's regular, and then there is the late portion. Opt for the earliest possible date that you can to submit your application to have a good chance. With respect to NYU scholarships, there is, of course, the Dean's Graduate Award, which helps you waive off about up to 15 to 20% of your tuition. That's mostly reserved for individuals with around 2 to 3 years of experience. Then the most prestigious one is the Hauser Scholarship. That also allows you to connect with the other Hauser scholars, past and previous, and it is a great experience because there are different seminars, and most importantly, it gives you full right to NYU. My senior KS Roshan Menon landed the fellowship this year, and wonderful human being. If anyone has any questions on Hausa, I think he would be a far better person than me to talk about his experience, really. But all in all, in terms of opportunities, NYU offers a lot many scholarship opportunities. Of course, in addition to this, many folks have already covered it across channels on mainstream US scholarships and mainstream scholarships for Indian law students to apply. All of those routes, for example, Fulbright is there, INLAX is there. All of those routes still remain open to Indian law students, and they also apply to it.
Right. Uh, Based on your own journey and experiences, what advice would you like to offer to current aspirants?
I think quite a few of my previous questions answer this. Quite a few of my previous answers, you know, also contain the answer to this question. But just to sum it up, I would say it is the ability to believe in yourself and the ability to experiment and not to be afraid to experiment. and to go out, reach out, and genuinely embrace the world. Embrace whatever comes to you, not to be afraid. When I applied, I had so many inhibitions. Will I make it or not? Is my college good enough? Is my GPA good enough? Have I done enough internships? Have I done enough summer schools? Have I had enough publications? Of course, give it your best shot. Do as much as you can. But once you start applying and once you've prepared your documents, never ever doubt. Just ensure that you are presenting, what according to you is the best version of yourself. If you feel key the moment you hit that submit button, इससे अच्छी मैं एप्लीकेशन डाल ही नहीं सकता, मेरा हो गया बस. अब इसके बाद, after this, I couldn't have done it any better. That's it. That is the satisfaction you need. Till the time you do not get that satisfaction, do not submit that LLM. Very happy that I had brilliant mentors in my seniors, in Pranjal, in Ankita Shri, in different other folks who helped me, who guided me, even Dr. Heather, my parents, they all helped me. They created that community, that little cocoon where they used to hype me up and they used to be like, don't worry, you'll make it, you'll make it, you'll make it. It's also very important to surround yourself with positivity, to surround yourself with positive people throughout this process who do not add to your existing anxiety, but who help alleviate it. Who you are depends a lot on whoever is around you. Look at that, and most importantly, dream big. What is the worst that can happen? Rejection, loss of application fee. It is far better than living with that regret of what if. You might ask yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, what if I would have? There are endless Bollywood movies, endless stories that show us the importance of believing in that what if. You look at 12th Fail, you look at Three Idiots, or in a more romantic sense, you look at Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. Every single success story, whether it is fictional or whether it is non-fictional, it always includes that element of what if. And you always need to chase that what if and not be afraid of it. And I think that is my advice to aspirants.
Absolutely. That is the greatest advice, I would say. Before we conclude, please tell us about life post LLM and about your current role. I'm very excited to know about it, and also how you're settling in Delhi after LLM.
So Delhi is, I was born in Delhi. I used to spend my weekends over here. It's a wonderful city, the beating heart, the beating soul of the country, and I just love the noise. I just love the colors. I just love the people. It's very different, of course, from New York. It's very different from Chandigarh, but it teaches you again the importance of patience because you're stuck in traffic jams, you're trying to work things out one way or the other. And it also teaches you the importance of having good life skills, the ability to connect with people and solve your issues together, whether it be navigating through traffic, whether it be helping other people out in the office or around you. My current role at the International Solar Alliance is that of a consultant in public international law. I'm working on ensuring that there is renewable energy for all, and it comes in the form of clean solar energy. So the International Solar Alliance has different initiatives. You can go on their website and possibly read about the Star Sea initiative, through which they are ensuring training, technical training in different countries related to solar installations and maintenance. There is the Solar for She initiative, how solar energy can transform the lives of women. There is the International Solar Festival that's coming up in Delhi on the 5th and 6th of the next month, which will feature delegates from different countries, all kinds of uh, you know stakeholders, private sector players, civil society organizations. The ISA treaty, very interestingly, there was Vyoma Jha. She's a wonderful scholar from Stanford, and I read her book and I even got the opportunity to interact with her. She calls the ISA soft law in a hard shell. When would you hear about a voluntary organization that you could join and you could leave at any time, which had such a profound impact on how regulations are being formed? They're very new, but they're very dynamic, and their footprint is very exciting. There are projects that are coming up in Fiji, there are projects that have come up in Chad, in Togo, in different regions. We are trying to ensure that firstly, people understand the importance of electricity and look at electricity not just as a right. Electricity is not a mere right, it is a nodal right or an enabling right under international law. If you don't have electricity, you might not have the right to food. You might not have the right to health, to sanitation, to education. And that is where our journey begins. In terms of the boring part of the answer, I draft and review treaties, agreements. I do comparative benchmarking and studies of different regulations. I help nation states with upgrading their skills in terms of how they can draft these laws, how they can understand, how they can enhance their compliance with the treaty and other forms of international law. And of course, as the only Indian qualified advisor over there, there are certain routine issues in Indian law as well that come up with the day-to-day, you know, running of the organization. It's small, but it's growing, and I also advise on that. It's a very small legal team. It's just me along with Miss Oni Izoba. She's from Nigeria, an absolute boss lady, mother of two, did her LLM from Harvard in 2020, the COVID year, and her understanding, her analysis is wonderful. So sometimes people think that, oh, I must be part of a big team to do big things. No, you must have big thoughts, and you must have a great supervisor, someone who believes in you, someone you can really team up with, and someone who teaches you something new every day. And that is how things are at ISA. My term ends in the third week of September, and after that, I'm headed to Cambridge. So this is what's going on. Very different things going on, but I'm very, very grateful to be here by virtue of the Public Interest Fellowship, which is one of three major fellowships, along with the Institute for Finance, International Finance and Development Fellowship, and the International Law and Human Rights Fellowship that is granted. And I was fortunate to land this one, and it comes with a $7,000 grant, which allowed me to achieve this dream. I'm also very, very grateful to Dr. Ajay Mathur, who is the Director General of this organization. Very, very seasoned renewable energy professional. He was part of the 2007 IPCC team that also had Mr. Al Gore, who was vice presidential candidate for the US. And that team won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. So to be working with such a team and to have such wonderful supervisors you can reach out to speak with, it's an absolute honor. And this could have only happened at NYU and through NYU. So I'm really grateful.
With this, I believe we have covered all the things that we needed to know about LLM from NYU School of Law. Thank you very much for accommodating our request, and I'm very positive this video will be of utmost help to everyone watching it. Once again, on behalf of YLCC, I thank you for being here with us and sharing your insights. I wish you the very best for your journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.